every Dead Rising on the Steam Deck OLED. There's also a Steam Deck LCD version of this video, so Dead Rising 1, 2, 2 of the record, 3 and 4. Dead Rising 1 is verified, 2 of the record as well. The third is incompatible for some reason. The fourth is verified. And I'm making this video because there is a remake / remaster coming out for it, and I'm super excited. Before testing that one, I wanted to see the entire franchise, so let's get into it right away with the first game. For Dead Rising 1, we're doing 800p, 90Hz, full screen on, 2x MSAA because it's an old game, but this looks good enough on the smaller screen in my opinion. High shadows, everything on the highest, and no motion blur. I also lowered the brightness a couple notches because on the OLED screen it looks better, at least in my opinion, less washed out. Welcome to Dead Rising 1, basically the best one in the franchise. I started from scratch because I'm in nighttime mode and it doesn't look particularly great on camera, so this is the very beginning of the game, lots of zombies on screen. And if you ever played the 360 version, you'll know that the loading screens between areas here are basically lightning fast. So we got 90 Hz, just fine. The GPU is basically sleeping right now. We got like 5 hours of battery. You can have more battery life by locking it to 60. And here the zombies will arrive, I'm guessing. Yep, there we go. More zombies on screen, so more GPU usage and CPU usage, but we're still easily at 90 FPS. And what to say, fantastic game. I would recommend it for everyone. Well, not for everyone. It took me a while to learn how to actually play it properly, because I was dying on some boss fights over and over. So, but on the Steam Deck OLED, it's basically 4 or 5 hours of battery. You can make it even longer if you're playing at 60, which I'm going to show you in a moment. So let's continue ahead. But it works completely fine. And again, loading screens, lightning fast. It's fantastic playing this now on the go, considering it was one of those launch 360 games. So I'm very happy to see that, obviously. The PC version took a while to arrive though. It took more than a decade, I think. It's been on PC for a while now, but it's nice to see that it runs without any issues whatsoever. Alright, so we're almost at the mall right now. Funnily enough, at the time this came on 360, I had a Nintendo Wii, and there's a Wii version of this game, which is pretty funny. It's basically a completely different game on the Wii. It's basically a Resident Evil 4 mod, to say it in some way. So if you ever played Dead Rising on the Wii, it's basically Resident Evil 4 with a Dead Rising skin, which actually is the one I had the most hours on. I played the 360 version when it came out on PC, so it was nice to be able to play both versions. I always wanted to play this one when I was a kid, but I only had a Nintendo Wii. So yeah, basically 4 hours of battery at 90 Hz. Let's see at 60 Hz what we can get. So we go down here. Again, this is for battery life purposes, nothing else. It's not like the game will drop below 90. And that means at 60, 30 FPS less, but we get significantly better battery life. You'll see in a moment. It's set like 4 hours at 90%. It's going to go up quite dramatically. Personally, I think 60 is fine for this one. So no big deal. Oh well. Now it says over 5 hours. I'm pretty sure it's going to keep going up. But if you want even more battery life, disable the MSAA option that I mentioned at the beginning. But man, it's so cool to be playing this on a portable device. It blows my mind because, again, I'm from the time that this was a high-end AAA game on a main console. So yeah, I'm old. I get it. So very happy to play this on the Steam Deck at such a nice frame rate. 60s, 90s. At 60s, again, over 5 hours of battery. 4 and something hours battery at 90 Hz. And it runs fantastically well. So let's jump into the next one. For Dead Rising 2, similar settings to before, 90 Hz, 2x MSAA, make sure the controller is on enable, and basically highest settings. So let's get into it. So I'm very early in the game on this save, because I lost my save file, haha, great. But I can show you some zombie action, again 90 Hz, battery life about 4 hours, give or take, maybe a bit less, because this one, when there is lots of zombies, kind of suffers. More GPU usage, but no big deal. Nowhere close to unplayable. It's completely fine. And Dead Rising 2, I really like it as well. I think it was one of my first PC games actually. It used to have games for Windows Live, so that's how you can tell this game is old. It no longer has it, now it's Steamworks, I think. One thing that I gotta say though, the UI is a bit small, but it's legible. So I'm fine with that. And it looks great. I remember when I played it on my first PC, I had only one core, so the game wasn't super smooth. I think it was 20 something FPS. I was completely CPU limited, but I didn't know what that was at the time. I just enjoyed the game. And now I can play it at 90 Hz for more than 3.5 hours. Alright, so now 60 Hz and 60 FPS locked. That will increase, again, battery life dramatically. We're doing 30 FPS less, which is a lot for the GPU. So the GPU usage drops, again, significantly, very significantly, which in turn means more battery life. And as I said in the previous one, if you disable MSAA, you have even more battery life, but I think this is good enough. More than good enough, actually. 60 frames, completely fine in a game like this, in my opinion. Especially at the beginning, that the character moves very slowly, but it works completely fine. Not sure why it's marked as playable instead of verified. I think that's because the refresh rate when you launch the game is at 60 Hz at 800 by 600, but still, it's completely fine. Great looking, lots of battery life, especially at 60 FPS. On a full charge, probably 5 hours. And the complete game is here. So let's jump into the next one. Dead Rising 2 Off the Record. This is basically an uncanon, more arcadey type game, which I really enjoyed. You're basically Frank West again, but in Dead Rising 2. Basically everything on the highest, and this one is verified, but when I launched the game it was looking for downloadable content, so I had to enable airplane mode for it to get past that. Was kind of weird, but hey, it works. Just make sure to launch the game without an internet connection, and you should be good. And what to say, just like Dead Rising 2, this one runs just fine. It's a little bit more demanding, nothing, not a big deal really. At least in my opinion. I mean, the performance difference isn't that big. You can run it at 90 and get like 4 hours of battery, and at 60 you are basically getting over 5 hours, like we said before. So let's get down there. And in this place that has lots of zombies, higher GPU usage. If you want to smooth it out a bit, disable MSAA, but you should be good. Yeah, here it likes to drop using one core. So not 1000% perfect to say it in some way, but good enough. This should give you like 3 hours of battery on a full charge. And if you want more battery life, again, go here, 60s, which again, I think for a game like this, it's okay. And you get more battery life. and it's completely 60. Come on. There we go. Trick him. I got $20,000. And despite the amount of zombies, as you can see, it's completely fine. With a 60 FPS configuration, with 60 FPS as a target, you get over 4 hours. So instead of 3.5, you get 4, 4.5 and a full charge. And I think that's the way to play this game. And if you want a bit more battery, as I said before, disable MSIA, but I think in this game it looks pretty damn good. No jaggies on the smaller screen. Looks absolutely sharp. It's a pleasure to play. Let's jump into the next one. For Dead Rising 3 900p, on the advanced options we got this. But the game is locked to 30 FPS by default. Yeah, one of the worst PC ports at the time this game came out. It's forced 16:9, unfortunately. But there's a very easy way to unlock the frame rate. It's linked in the description. It's basically adding a text file in the folder of the game with a command. It's super simple. Again, link in the description. It'll take you literally 5 minutes. And well, what to say about it? My first advice is to probably lock it to 60. 90 is nice, but whatever. Also, it's marked as unsupported, but I've been playing this for a few hours already before this video was ever made, even on the LCD Steam Deck, and it's been fine. The main issue is when you actually go and kill lots of zombies, which is the basic point of the game. So yeah, by default it's 30 FPS. Let's see, explosion. So yeah, locking it to 60 works, but as you can probably notice, it likes to drop. Let me get into a bike and show you what I'm talking about. But again, this game is horribly optimized. At least since it came out. You might say, oh, why do you say that, Santiago? Horribly optimized, runs at 50 to 60 on the Steam Deck. Yeah, you're right. But it's not scalable at all. It likes to drop very drastically when zombies start doing anything at all. So personally, yeah, I said lock it to 60 if you want to. The option is there, works pretty well. But you got drops here and there, so for consistency's sake and for having more than 2.5 hours of battery on the OLED, my advice is to lock it to 45. It's perfectly in between 90 Hz, so pause the game. Put it at 45. So the screen will be at 90 Hz, the game will be at 45 consistently, should stay there most of the time. Working just fine. And it feels just fine to play it at this frame rate, considering that this game by default is locked to 30. This is a million times better than playing it at 30. It's hard to explain how much of a difference it makes. And unfortunately, it's forced 16:9. So you get black bars at the top and bottom of the screen, but on the OLED Steam Deck it's not an issue, because on OLED panels, when you have a completely black pixel, it turns off the pixel, so it looks like the Steam Deck had a slightly smaller screen, so I don't think it's a big deal. So yeah, works pretty well as long as you keep your expectations a little bit low when it comes to consistency. Again, lock it to 45 and enjoy your life. And long battery life should give you like 3 hours of battery like this. And when there's a lot of effects, you're going to probably have some drops, but it should be consistent enough to enjoy. So yeah. Anyway, let's jump into the next one. Dead Rising 4. This one, well, basically killed the franchise for a while. But that's okay. We have a remake of Dead Rising 1 coming this year. 800p, high settings. Why high settings? Because it's impossible to get 40s. I get drops below 40 very easily. So unfortunately, this will be one of those 30 FPS games. but due to the 90 Hz refresh rate, it doesn't look smooth at all with this frame rate. So my advice for this one is to put it at 60 Hz. Why 60 Hz? Well, so it doesn't look as choppy as in 90 Hz. It matches the refresh rate a little bit better. So here, no matter the settings again that I used, I wasn't even close to 40s. It drops frames due to CPU limitation, it seems, or something like that. And while this game was fun when it came out, at least in my opinion, it got boring super quickly for me. I don't know, I think they lost a hint on what Dead Rising was about. Also, frame times are very poor. So yeah, this one, not a big fan. But on the other ones, really, the Dead Rising franchise on the Steam Deck OLED is fantastic. You get lots of battery life on 1, 2, and well, 3 has okay battery life. But you can play them at 90 Hz, except in 3 and 4, of course. And if you want more battery life on the first ones, you can actually do 60 FPS instead of 90. Looks less smooth, obviously, because 90 Hz is 30 frames above 60. But yeah, it's awesome to be able to play Dead Rising 1 and 2, at least for me especially, at 90 FPS or 60, without worrying about battery whatsoever. So yeah. Would I recommend the Dead Rising franchise on Steam Deck? Hell yeah, just avoid the fourth one. The third one, I still enjoyed it. Just lock it to 45 and enjoy your 2.5 to 3 hours of battery. In my opinion, Dead Rising 4, ignore it. It's fine at the beginning, but it gets boring very quickly. At least for me, that's what happened. So you're better off waiting for the remake remaster thing that's coming in September this year. This is one of the reasons I made this video in the first place, because I'm super excited for the remake slash remaster coming out soon. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did revisiting Dead Rising, except in Dead Rising 4. Frick that game and its performance. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye guys. Thanks for watching.